The hour of convening having arrived, all members of the House will please report to the floor and take your seats. All members of this House will report to the floor and take your seats. The clerk will ring the bell. All members will report to the floor of the House. We're about to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. Doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. Well, good morning. I know we start off today with sadness and heavy hearts over the loss of a member of the Capitol family over the weekend with the passing of Mary Brantley, the Government Affairs Executive Director at Georgia Gwinnett College, and an individual who had worked around this building for a long time and had many, many friends and was highly thought of as a person of integrity and honor. So I hope that you will join with me now in a moment of silence for Mary and her family before we have our devotion. Thank you. We will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the gentleman from the 158th House District, Chairman Butch Parrish. Chairman Parrish.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed a pleasure for me to be here to present our chaplain of the day to you today. But before I do introduce him, I'd like to introduce you to a special friend who happens to be here with us today, and it's Sonny's mother, Ms. Gloria Mason. So, Gloria, if you would stand up and let the house give you a warm welcome, please. Thank you. Reverend Sonny Mason was born and reared in Swainsboro and attended high school there. And Mr. Speaker, after that he went to Georgia and got a degree and is a Bulldog. And then he received his Master's of Theology from Emory, University Candler School of Theology, and a Doctorate of Ministry from Wesleyan Theological Seminary in Washington, D.C. During Sonny's 37 years, he, as a Methodist minister, pastored several churches around the area. And one was down in the Lakeland area. And we were talking about this morning, although Representative Shaw didn't attend this particular church, another branch of the Shaw family was in his congregation. So Sonny had his hands full with the Shaw clan down there, and we're glad that they got to visit a little bit this morning. He was in ministry for 37 years, and he's now retired but stays very active in many activities and resides in Augusta. It's my pleasure to present to you our chaplain of the day, the Reverend Sonny Mason.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity, Speaker David and Representative Butch Parrish. I'm thrilled to be here today with you, and I thank God for each one of you and for all that you are about that is good. And when we think of the good this morning, we have to remember the likes of the good in the Reverend Billy Graham. The scripture I read this morning is from this book of 2 Chronicles, the 7th chapter, beginning with the 12th verse. Then the Lord appeared to Solomon in the night and said to him, I have heard your prayer and have chosen this place for myself as a house of sacrifice. If my people who are called by my name humble themselves, pray, seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, and I will forgive their sin and heal their land. The word fallen is used to describe the state that one finds oneself in, having sinned, as in Adam and Eve have fallen from grace because of their actions in the Garden of Eden. We also think this morning of our fallen heroes, as in brave soldiers who have fallen in battle. Growing up as a young boy in Emmanuel County, Swainsboro, during the 1960s, and feeling even then the call to preach, Billy Graham was one of my heroes. I watched countless of his crusades with the words of the last stanza of "Just as I am" lingering afterwards in my mind. Just as I am, thy love unknown hath broken every barrier down. Now to be thine, yea, thine alone, O Lamb of God, I come, I come. The tall and lanky evangelist Graham was a big part of my call into ministry, and in some deep ways, he helped set me on the path that my life has followed for almost 40 years. Once questioned as to what he would ask God upon reaching the kingdom of heaven, the Reverend Graham simply said, nothing. Puzzled by the esteemed evangelist's response, the questioner responded, nothing? And yes, Graham responded, I would say nothing. I would simply fall. Fall before God. Billy Graham in that moment may have said more about himself than in his thousands of sermons, as he reminded his questioner and us that humility might best be exercised when thinking of coming into the presence of God. Reverend Graham, in his candid autobiography, written at the age of 78, revealed that the most beloved and honored amongst us must finally quake before the Creator as they face their own flaws. Graham did not shirk from seeing his own flaws. And in doing so, he taught us that there is a reason why all of us might benefit from the mistakes that he felt he had made. At the top of Graham's list were regrets that he had put his work ahead of his family. I think of all of you today. My heart goes out to you for the work that you do and the ways that it takes your time away from your families to be here on our behalf. Graham recalled that Ruth, his wife, once regretted that her husband had been away on his crusade so much because he'd missed the best part of his life, she said, watching his children grow up. And Graham tells the story that upon returning home after being away for many months, on the road he saw a beautiful little girl playing in the grass beside the road. And he thought to myself, I wonder who she belongs to. Only to realize that having been away for so long, he didn't even recognize his own child. Graham also regretted his involvement in politics. Now, I hope you don't do that today. As America's pastor, Graham found himself ministering to those who have held the highest office in our land. Reflecting on his friendships with those who resided in the Oval Office, Graham acknowledged that while he had ministered to leaders of both parties, it had also pulled him in directions that were too partisan. And he said this, looking back, I sometimes crossed the line, and I wouldn't do that now. I'm sure that in his latter days he mourned the divisions that cause us now in this nation to seem to war against each other. And then there was the issue of race. Graham's sermons had pronounced to the masses that there's no excuse for bigotry, intolerance, and prejudice. Instead of glossing over his own errors of judgment and passing them off as trivial, Graham confessed that while he had worked to end segregation in the midst of his own crusades and organization, he regretted he had not participated in the civil rights marches with Dr. Martin Luther King. And he said this, I think I made a mistake when I did not go to Selma. He said, I would have liked to have done more. You see, reminding ourselves of the earlier question that he was asked, what will you say to God when you get to heaven? And Graham responded, I won't say anything. I will fall. A giant has fallen before God. Graham's coffin was handmade by the inmates of the Louisiana State Penitentiary. It lay in repose in the rotunda of our nation's capital. There are only 32 persons since 1852 have been afforded such an honor. Yet even as Billy Graham has completed his earthly work, he humbly requested that the only title and text on his grave be preacher, pointing us to the truth that true nobility is found in humility. We all could use an extra dose of Graham's humility. Perhaps we too need to join the ranks and fall in humility. I am humbled today to be here with you. I pray for you in the work that you are about. And I hope that all of us can remember the words of 2 Chronicles. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves, pray and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, and I will heal their land. Let us pray. Creator God, who sustains us, who made us, who in the beginning looked at creation and called it good. Now, O God, as you look down upon us this morning, you are seeing good, the goodness of these your servants who represent you in their positions as they seek to do justly and right for the state of Georgia. I thank you for each one of them. I pray for their families this morning and those they have left behind to be here. I pray that you will open our hearts and our minds to the ways of humility, and that we will seek your face always. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, we say together, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Doorkeepers will unlock the doors. Chair recognizes Chairman Darlene Taylor, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Information and Audits has reviewed the proceedings of the previous legislative day and found them to be correct.
Chairman Taylor, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. Burns, on the 59th, moves following be established as the order of business during the first part of the period. Unanimous consents. Second reading of bills and resolutions. Report of standing committees. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills and resolutions. Morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 1015 by Representative Cannon of the 58th, a bill relating to county or municipal ordinances. House Bill 1016 by Representative Petrie of the 166th, a bill relating to basic training course for communications officers. House Bill 1017 by Representative Rhodes of the 120th, a bill to amend an act providing a new charter for the city of Greensboro. House Bill 1018 by Representative Mitchell of the 88th, a bill relating to persons not to be licensed. House Bill 1019 by Representative Stevens of the 164th, a bill relating to exemptions from sales and use taxes. House Bill 1020 by Representative Trammell of the 132nd, a bill relating to state government. House Resolution 1374 by Representative Harrell of the 106th, a resolution creating the House Study Committee on Professional Licensing Boards, Operations, and Fundings. House Resolution 1375 by Representative Dempsey of the 13th, a resolution encouraging the state of Georgia to advise all public and private schools to educate students and parents about the dangers of meningococcal disease. House Resolution 1376 by Representative Hatchett of the 150th, a resolution urging the House Rural Development Council to solicit input from the hospitals in the state on the financial conditions of such hospitals. House Resolution 1397 by Representative Dickey of the 140th, resolution encouraging the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration to withdraw the electronic logging device regulations on the agriculture industry and supporting agribusinesses. House Resolution 1398 by Representative Dowler of the 45th, resolution creating the House Study Committee on Short-Term Rental Providers. House Resolution 1399 by Representative Trammell of the 132nd, a resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so as to authorize the General Assembly to provide by law for casino gambling in this state. Senate Bill 39 by Senator Unterman of the 45th, a bill relating to penalties for violating Code Sections 16-6-9 through 16-6-12. Senate Bill 228 by Senator McCune of the 29th, a bill relating to motor vehicles. Senate Bill 232 by Senator Gooch of the 51st, a bill to enact the Facilitating Internet Broadband Rural Expansion Act. Senate Bill 236 by Senator James of the 35th, a bill relating to driving under the influence of alcohol, drugs, and other intoxicating substances. Senate Bill 318 by Senator Rett of the 33rd, a bill relating to mental health. Senate Bill 335 by Senator Unterman of the 45th, a bill relating to trafficking of persons for labor or sexual servitude. Senate Bill 336 by Senator Unterman of the 45th, a bill relating to general provisions relevant to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Senate Bill 349 by Senator Jackson of the 2nd, a bill relating to notaries public. Senate Bill 351 by Senator Unterman of the 45th, a bill relating to nurses. Senate Bill 354 by Senator Jackson of the 2nd, a bill related to tuition fees. Senate Bill 358 by Senator Rett of the 33rd, a bill relating to general provisions relative to provisions applicable to counties and municipal corporations and depositories for county and school district monies. Senate Bill 359 by Senator Hufstetler of the 52nd, a bill relating to insurance. Senate Bill 382 by Senator Martin of the 9th, a bill relating to definitions relative to optometrists. Senate Bill 385 by Senator Jones of the 25th, a bill relating to cost reimbursement fees and surcharges. Senate Bill 386 by Senator Beach of the 21st, a bill relating to sales and use taxes. Senate Bill 391 by Senator Beach of the 21st, a bill relating to general provisions relative to state and road tollway authority. Senate Bill 396 by Senator Schaefer of the 48th, a bill relating to telephone system for the physically impaired. Senate Bill 401 by Senator Tippins of the 37th, a bill relating to recognition of advanced proficiency honors courses and counseling and development of individual graduation plans. Senate Bill 403 by Senator Thompson of the 14th, a bill relating to primaries and elections. Senate Bill 404 by Senator Brass of the 28th, a bill relating to public water systems. Senate Bill 411 by Senator Jackson of the 2nd, a bill relating to officers and employees. Senate Bill 414 by Senator Tippins of the 37th, a bill relating to charitable solicitations. Senate Bill 420 by Senator Rett of the 33rd, a bill relating to general provisions regarding health. Senate Bill 425 by Senator Gooch of the 51st, a bill relating to professions and businesses. Senate Bill 426 by Senator Gooch of the 51st, a bill relating to local government. Senate Bill 430 by Senator Brass of the 28th, a bill relating to courts, primaries, and elections. Senate Bill 431 by Senator Tillery of the 9th, a bill relating to certain liability not limited. Senate Bill 436 by Senator Strickland of the 17th, a bill relating to probate courts. Senate Bill 437 by Senator Payne of the 54th, a bill relating to persons authorized to issue order not to resuscitate. Senate Bill 444 by Senator Unterman of the 45th, a bill relating to services for the aging. Senate Bill 450 by Senator Payne of the 54th, a bill relating to unlawful enticement of gain. Senate Bill 451 by Senator Walker III of the 20th, a bill relating to the State Soil and Water Conservation Commission. Senate Bill 453 by Senator Tillery of the 19th, a bill relating to local government. Senate Bill 457 by Senator Tate of the 38th, a bill relating to school safety plans. Senate Bill 460 by Senator Beach of the 21st, a bill to amend the Metropolitan Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority Act of 1965. Senate Bill 461 by Senator Stone of the 23rd, a bill relating to barbers and cosmetologists. Senate Bill 463 by Senator Duggan of the 30th, a bill relating to commerce and trade and motor vehicles and traffic. Senate Resolution 149 by Senator Williams of the 27th, a resolution designating September 1st as Childhood Cancer Awareness Day in Georgia. Senate Resolution 537 by Senator Beach of the 21st, a resolution providing for the closure of certain state property to unauthorized vehicular traffic. Senate Resolution 681 by Senator Harbin of the 16th, a resolution encouraging the United States Congress to propose the Parental Rights Amendment to the states for ratification through second readers.
Reports of standing committees. The clerk will read.
Representative Jan Tankersley, the 160th District Chairman on the Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Local, submitted the following report from the Speaker of the Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Local. Set under consideration the following bills of the House and Senate. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 964 do pass. House Bill 979 do pass. House Bill 980 do pass. House Bill 985 do pass. House Bill 990 do pass. House Bill 991 do pass. House Bill 1003 do pass. Senate Bill 262 do pass. Senate Bill 270, do pass. Senate Bill 387, do pass. Senate Bill 392, do pass. House Bill 945, do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Jan Tankersley of the 160th District, Chairman. That completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
The House will come to order. House will come to order. We are about to go on to the local calendar. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills. One bill on the local calendar relates to homestead exemption and requires a recorded 2/3 roll call vote for passage. If there is no objection, we will vote on the local calendar as a whole with a recorded vote. For what purpose does the chairman of the minority caucus rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to be recognized for a motion.
State your motion.
I'd like to have House Bill 945 be removed from the local calendar and voted on separately.
The gentleman has moved that House Bill 945 be removed from the local calendar and voted on separately. Is there objection? Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it is so ordered. What purpose does Representative Carter rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for a motion.
State your motion.
I'd like to motion that House Bill 964 be removed from the local calendar and voted on separately.
What was that bill number?
964.
The lady has moved that House Bill 964 be removed from the local calendar and voted on separately. Is there objection? Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it is so ordered. Those two will be voted separately. What purpose does Representative Douglas rise?
To make a motion, Mr. Speaker.
State your motion.
I would like to make a motion that Senate Bill 262 be taken off the calendar and voted on separately.
The gentleman has moved that Senate Bill 262 be removed from the local calendar and voted on separately. Is there objection? Is there objection? Chair hears none, and it is so ordered. Clerk will read House Bill 964.
House Bill 964 by Representative Jones, the 91st. Rockdale County. This bill changes the compensation of the members of the Rockdale County Board of Education to $1,000 per month. In 2020, the compensation will increase to $1,200 per month.
Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 262.
Senate Bill 262 by Senator Jeffries of the 17th, City of Stockbridge. This bill revises the corporate boundaries of the City of Stockbridge.
Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 945.
House Bill 945 by Representative Peake of the 141st, Macon-Bibb County. This bill provides a homestead exemption, which has the effect of a valuation freeze from Macon-Bibb County ad valorem taxes for county purposes.
Clerk will read the balance of the local calendar.
HB 979 by Representative Raffensperger, the 50th, City of Johns Creek. HB 980 by Representative Deffenbaugh, the 1st, Dade County. House Bill 985 by Representative McCall, the 33rd, Town of Hull. House Bill 980 by Representative Dickerson of the 113th, Rockdale County. House Bill 991 by Representative Rhodes of the 120th, Putnam County. House Bill 103 by Representative Ralston, the 7th, Gilmer County. Senate Bill 270 by Senator Mullins, the 53rd, City of Trenton. Senate Bill 387 by Senator Gucci, the 51st, City of Dahlonega. Senate Bill 392 by Senator Burke of the 11th, City of Doe Run.
Well, it's already, you did. For what purpose does Representative Anulowicz rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Yes, I request to be recused from the vote on Senate Bill 262 based upon the Rule 133.
Under what House rule?
Oh, I'm sorry, Rule 133.
Okay, the lady has that right, and the journal will so reflect. Okay, here's the posture we're in. We are going to vote House Bill 964 separately. So is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on House Bill 964? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing? What purpose does Representative Dickerson rise?
Parliamentary procedure.
I'm sorry?
Parliamentary procedure. Parliament inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, I wanted 964 not to be, I wanted that to be pulled off, not to be voted as a separate bill.
Well, the chair heard the motion as to be voted separately. Are you asking the chair to postpone the bill to a subsequent legislative day?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
We need to read the local calendar before we get to it in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And I say that to the entire delegation. Is there any objection to House Bill 964 being withdrawn and postponed to the next legislative day? The chair hears none, and that one is postponed. We're going on now to Senate Bill 262. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on Senate Bill 262? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bills? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. What purpose does the minority leader, Leader Trammell, rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that this is the Senate version of the Stockbridge bill that this House voted on some weeks ago?
If the gentleman so states. What purpose does Representative Douglas rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, isn't it true that our governor has, for several years, made this state the #1 state to do business?
5 years in a row, to be exact.
Further, parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, this bill will take away about 50% of my local city, which we have bonds, $20 million worth of bonds, and also $60 million worth of bonds pending. wouldn't this affect our AAA bond rating for the state?
I have no way of knowing that. I'm sure the gentleman believes that to be true. What purpose does Representative Scott rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it true that this bill will not allow the people in the city of Stockbridge to vote on whether they would like to become a city or not?
If the lady so states. Those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 262 are voting green. Those opposed are voting red. Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of Senate Bill 262. The ayes are 95, the nays are 58. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Okay, we're going on now to House Bill 945. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on House Bill 945? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 945 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. What purpose does Representative Peake rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it not true, Mr. Speaker, this local legislation has the necessary required votes from the local delegation, and also that this legislation was brought at the request, a majority vote of the Macon-Bibb County Commissioner in conjunction with the opportunity to have a 1-cent local option sales tax, and that is not further true that if we vote this down, that kills any opportunity for moving that legislation forward.
If the gentleman so states, I know he believes that to be true. I also know that it requires a 2/3 constitutional majority. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? Have all members now voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 945. The ayes are 104. The nays are 56. This bill, having failed to receive the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore failed. Okay, now we're going on to the rest of the local calendar. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on the local calendar without House Bill 945, 964, or Senate Bill 262? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bills? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall these bills now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bills on the local calendar will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of the bills on the local calendar without House Bill 945, 964, and Senate Bill 262. The ayes were 164, the nays are 0. These bills, having received the requisite constitutional majority, are therefore passed. Chair is going to ask that all members of the House please take your seats, suspend meetings within the chamber, and cease audible conversation. We are very, very honored to have with us this morning our United States Senator, David Perdue. Senator Perdue has taken on a great leadership role in our nation's capital. I can tell you, having been there a couple of weeks ago, he is on the forefront of a truly historic infrastructure package that this president is proposing and has put his energy behind. I appreciate his great work. We're honored to have him with us. Please welcome to our chamber, Senator David Perdue.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I envy one thing here of the Speaker. I envy a lot of things, but I want one of these. I think I might be able to do some good in Washington if I had one that size, but I'm here to do a couple things very briefly. I know Johnny spoke to you last week, gave you a little bit of an update, but first of all, you need to hear both Johnny and myself say one thing, and that is thank you. Georgia, again, is the best state in the country to do business for the 5th straight year. That does not happen by accident. It happens because of things like you did just then. I marvel at you being able to push a button and it go green or red. I want to know what the other colors are for, by the way, but green and red works. It takes us a half hour to do what you just did on any one of those. But what we've done in the last year is focused on getting the economy moving again. President Trump said job one was growing the economy, and last year we focused on regulation, energy, and taxes. And we passed, I believe, a game-changing bill in that tax bill, and it's going to have lasting repercussions on our economy as it helps this economy grow. This year we're focused on immigration, trade, and infrastructure. The Speaker talked about infrastructure. We're working hard on that package right now. I'm hopeful that we can get a bipartisan approach to this thing, just like on immigration, because both parties have said the same things about immigration and infrastructure over the last 10 years. So I'm very hopeful we'll be able to do that and to continue the work that we've started to actually get this economy to be competitive with the rest of the world again. Trade is an issue right now. The president's talking about some things, we're talking about some things, but that conversation is ongoing. The one thing I can tell you is that NATO today is stepping up and paying its way in terms of its own defense. NAFTA negotiations have moved to a new level. We did not have to blow either one of those agreements up. So I believe that we're entering into a new level of engagement with the rest of the world that will, I believe, make us more prosperous and safer here at home. I just want to tell you again how much we respect what you guys do here. You work here for a few months, you go home to your regular jobs. Government works in state houses. 44 states in the United States have balanced budget laws. You don't have a problem with a deficit problem here in the state. You don't have the debt problem here in the state. Your bond rating is extremely good because of people like you, because of the Speaker, and because of the people of Georgia, and I'm so excited to be one of your senators from Georgia. Thank you for what you do for our state. God bless you and have a great day. Thank you.
Okay, we're going on now to morning orders. Going to morning orders. Chair recognizes for a morning order Representative Dreyer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to briefly mention I had a visitor on the evening of crossover at about 11 p.m. I had 4 constituents come down, not because they cared a lot about a bill that we were voting on the evening of crossover, but because they were camping out across the street at Central Presbyterian Church to get a spot in pre-K for their kids. 4 moms from Grant Park camped out on our streets down here because there aren't enough spots for pre-K for everybody that needs it. Last year, Atlanta Public Schools passed a law or passed a regulation to prevent people from enrolling their kids a year early from enrolling 4-year-olds because moms that are working can't afford daycare for their kids. So they are putting their kids in school too early where they'll be at a disadvantage for life. And I would just urge us to consider these kids and these moms as we make our policy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes for a morning order Representative Brockway, Representative F. Strachan, and the entire Gwinnett County delegation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll wait just a second for...
Gentleman will suspend.
Yes, sir.
We've got a lot to get done in a very short period of time. Many of the morning orders, particularly this one, are very solemn. If you have things more important than listening to the member in the well, then please take that outside the chamber. Gentleman may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I come here today with some sad news. I know many of you know Mary Brantley, who at one point in time worked for the Senate and worked for the Georgia Association of Educators, and for the last number of years represented Georgia Gwinnett College here at the Capitol, and was a fantastic advocate for them and that growing college in our community. Unfortunately, she passed away yesterday, and our hearts in Gwinnett are broken, and I know the folks at Georgia Gwinnett College are devastated by this news. And there will be a service later this week that we'll be happy to inform you of as we get the details. And she was a wonderful advocate, as I mentioned, and this is a very sad day for me, and as the Georgia Gwinnett being in my district, and I know many of my colleagues here share those same feelings. So if any of my colleagues would like to add a word, I'll be happy to step aside. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes for a morning order Representative or Chairman Bubber Epps and the Mercer University family.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, we want you to help us recognize Mercer Day today at our state capitol. In the gallery, we have an array of Mercer students from the law school, School of Medicine, and undergraduates as well. And ironically, the medical students represent the Nathan Deal Scholarship recipients, those that have promised to come back and practice in rural Georgia after graduating from Mercer. There to our left, if you will stand up, we would certainly love to welcome you to the House chamber. Mr. Speaker, we want to point out that the Lady Bears basketball team won the SoCon Conference representing Mercer. They have a 30-2 record-setting record for that school, and we're proud of the Lady Bears and Mercer University. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Deffenbaugh for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have the distinct privilege of having a group of middle school students from the great state of Dade. They are up there in the corner and would like them to be recognized. Also, they're here on a task, and that task is to talk to as many representatives, lobbyists, and other people that they can to display some of their efforts and what they have learned in schools. So please give them the ear if you have the opportunity. Thank you.
House will come to order. I have another special guest with us today. I want you to help me recognize Congressman Rick Allen. Congressman Allen.
Well, again, you've heard from our senator, and I really can't add much to that other than if you want to talk to the president, you have to talk to that senator. And he can get to the president pretty quick, and that's important for Georgia. I want to, again, just thank all of you for what you do. If we could run the federal government the way y'all run the state of Georgia, we would not have a problem in this country, I assure you. Thank you so much for being a great example, and to us in Washington, and anything that I can be of assistance on, please do not hesitate to call on our office. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Good to see you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Dickerson for a morning order. She's joined by Representative Gilligan and others. More others.
More others. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Joining me on the platform here are members of the Women's Legislative Caucus. And this morning we had the wonderful privilege of having the opportunity to recognize some of the greatest leaders in our community. We call them the greatest because they serve as the least of these. They are the servant leaders of their community. They are up in the gallery. Would you please rise, all of our honorees who are still able to be with us right now? And as you notice, we are all adorned with our yellow roses. The yellow roses signified the suffragette movement. So the members of legislative bodies who are supporting the suffragette movement and the 19th Amendment wore yellow roses, and those who opposed wore red. We are so glad that many of you have chosen to support the 19th Amendment, to support the women's causes, and we thank you for everything you do for us. Have a blessed day.
Nikki Randall is there.
Oh, and Nikki Randall is here. Oh, wonderful. Nikki T. Randall, former representative, and she is now we named the award after Nikki T. Randall. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
That's okay.
Chair recognizes Representative Belton for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Representative. Can all members of the military come join me today, folks in the Military Affairs Working Group? I'm so very proud of this House. Last year we passed 17 different bills, 8 different resolutions supporting the military. Georgia, the state of Georgia, has 50 different laws supporting our military here in Georgia. And I'm so proud of that. But today I want to talk about the F-35 Lightning, a joint use fighter built right here in Dobbins Air Force Base by Lockheed Martin single seat, single engine, all-weather supersonic stealth fighter. It's a 5th generation fighter, can fly anywhere in the world without being harmed because of stealth technology. Has air superiority and ground assault, a 4-barrel GAU-12 equalizer cannon for air-to-air and air-to-ground missions. Flown by the Air Force, Navy, and the Marines, capable of conventional takeoffs as well as carrier-based takeoffs. Mr. Speaker, the Air Force is buying 2,600 of these jets, and 18 of these jets is going to the city of Burlington, Vermont, an entire wing, but about a $500 million economic impact. But believe it or not, Mr. Speaker, the people of Burlington, Vermont do not want the F-35 Lightning. They are voting tomorrow a referendum, and let me read you the referendum. Shall we, the voters of the city of Burlington, request the cancellation of the planned basing of the F-35 Lightning and instead request a low-level equipment? Low-level equipment. Mr. Speaker, when I hear the mighty engines roar and I see silver wings on high, I hear the sound of freedom. Now, I've been to Burlington, Vermont. It's a very nice place. They have very good crepes, and they have very nice maple syrup. And for about 2 weeks of the year, they have very nice weather. Beautiful Lake Champlain, nestled under the Green Mountain. It's really evidently too nice a place and too picturesque a scene to have noisy fighter jets. I'm reminded of the Green Mountain Boys, led by Ethan Allen back in 1775, captured the fort of Ticonderoga, dragged the cannons down to Boston and gave the Revolutionary War its first ever victory. And these same people do not want noisy fighter jets. Representative Corbett, do you know anyone who wants noisy fighter jets?
Thank you, Chairman Belton. Yes, on behalf of the Lowndes County delegation and Moody Air Force Base, I would like to extend an invitation to the Air Force that we would welcome the F-35s at Moody, and we'll roll out the red carpet and welcome them when they get there. Come on down, the weather's fine.
Representative Shaw and Representative Clark, do you have any idea where the F-35 could put its airplanes?
Mr. Chairman, we have a saying back home that is Edem Giafat, and it means every day in Middle Georgia is Armed Forces Appreciation Day. And to echo your comments, when we hear those engines and the buildings shake, that is the sound of freedom. And yes, if the F-35 is looking for a new home, the doors at Robins Air Force Base are open.
And to echo that, in Middle Georgia, we love the sound of freedom. Just to the south and east is a bunch of forestry, and I hear that the deer and squirrels do not mind the sound of freedom either, Mr. Speaker. We got plenty of airspace in Georgia for these planes to fly, and we welcome them to come and do business in Georgia.
Representative Carson, do you have any idea where we could base these F-35s?
Thank you, Chairman Belton. I have a really good idea. I'm not going to say the name of the base, but it's about 3 miles away from a very famous stadium up in Cobb County. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Al Williams, the best looking man up here, do you have any idea where we put these F-35s?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Any place in Georgia would be ideal. And I'll be frank with you. Of course, it spells freedom wherever they go in America. But in addition to freedom down at Hunter Army Airfield, it spells $500 million and jobs that buys a whole lot of freedom with the longest runway in the military in Georgia.
I'd like to leave with comments by our senior ranking officer, Colonel Bill Hitchens.
Thank you very much. I like Al Williams here, reside in the Savannah area, and I used to be the executive officer, which is number 2 person at Coast Guard Reserve Unit Air Station Savannah. I'm very familiar with Hunter Army Airfield. It does have the longest runway in the country. We also have the Air Dominance Center that the National Guard runs now, and these planes are situated to go to the National Guard. In addition, we have the Townsend Bombing Range, which is only about 40 miles south, where all the fighter aircraft and bomber aircraft on the East Coast come to practice bombing. It's well suited. I'm like the rest of them, but anywhere in Georgia would be a great opportunity. And apparently in Vermont, there's chaos. And one of my favorite sayings always, in chaos, there is opportunity. we hope that if it fails, I've already called my congressman. I usually can't get him. He used to have my seat, but I've called his wife, and I know she can get the message to him. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We yield the well.
Okay, here's the posture we're in. Due to an important announcement that's going to be made down on the second floor shortly after noon, we're going to end here at 12 o'clock noon. The chair didn't put time limits on morning orders, and so I'm not going to start now. We've got about a half a dozen more. We have groups we need to honor, and we have a bill on the supplemental rules calendar, and we probably will not get to page pictures today. We're going to do the best we can in the time that we have. Chair recognizes for a morning order Chairman Dickey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've got a group here, and I'll be brief. I'm not sure they're over from the Senate, but we got a school climate team here, PBIS, Positive Behavior Intervention and Support. I hope y'all have heard of that program in our K through 12 schools. It's doing a great job to improve the academic and social behavior outcomes of our children. And I'm just very proud of them, the job they're doing. We're rolling it out all across our state through our RESAs and into every level of our K through 12 schools. And I just want to thank them for being here today. And if you see them around the halls, just give them your support. Thank you very much.
Chair recognizes Representative Gilliard.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker, members of the House. I want to ask you a question. How many of you love seafood? If you would, raise your hands. All right. Then make some noise if you love seafood. Today I rise to give you just a quick announcement that we're going to deputize some of you to be Savannah seafood lovers. Today in room 132, following our great session, we want you to come out and get your hands greasy over some garlic shrimp, some snow crabs, some dungeon crabs, some low country ball, and also the famous Al Williams version of escargot. We call it in the South conch. So we want you to come out. It's all going to be complimentary, and have a good time. Room 132, immediately following the session. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Stovall for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I have drawn with me today Miss Virginia Freeman Ford. And Ms. Ford is one of my constituents in my district that I honored with the Women's Servant Award. But one of the unique things about Ms. Ford is that she's a fighter for individuals with developmental disabilities. And a lot of work she's done in Clayton County and across the state of Georgia. And I just wanted to acknowledge her, and I think she stepped out, but I just did want to make sure I acknowledge her. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Cannon for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Happy Women's History Month, or as we say, Women's Herstory Month. We know that women make us laugh, women make us smile, women blaze trails. Women like Kia Barnes charter NAACP chapters. Women like Kia give charitably and pray humbly. Thank you, Kia, for using your platform to make Georgia a better, more funny, more fashionable place. Thank you to your mother and sister for being here with you today. Thank you for teaching our children through your published curricula. And thank you for fostering progress for our queer community. I am so proud that you are our servant leader because you are what our generation needs. Please join me in applauding Kia Barnes, who's in the gallery today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Chairman Willard, to introduce the Doctor of the Day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Matthew Cady. Dr. Cady is a Blue Devil graduate of Duke University. He received his medical degree from Eastern Virginia Medical School and completed his residency at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Dr. Cady is Associate Professor of Emergency Medicine at Emory University and is the lead medical director of Emory Healthcare. He is the Chief of Emergency Medicine at Emory University Hospital and interim medical director of the Johns Creek Emergency Department. Would you please join me in welcoming Dr. Cady to the House today? Thank you, Dr. Cady. Come over and give us a comment.
Thank you guys for everything you do. I know the patients in Georgia appreciate everything. Thanks.
House will be in order. House will be in order. Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 1021.
House Resolution 1021 by Representative Reinders of the 152nd, a resolution commending and congratulating the Lee County High School Trojans football team for winning the 2017 GHSA Class 6A State Football Championship and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes the chair of the Governmental Affairs Committee, Chairman Reinders, for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. We are honored today. It's my great privilege to welcome the Region 1-6A State High School football champions, the Lee County Trojans. And you need to know a little trivia. For the last 4 years in a row, the state champion has come out of this region. And this year, within this region, we beat our good friend Dominique Laricchius, Coffee County. So both teams played from the same region for the state championship. The only lead of the game, Chairman Coleman, was Lee County at 28-21 in overtime. We got a little bitty fellow over here on the end. Raise your hand. There he is. That's your Florida Gator commitment. I know. And I want you to know that me and the Speaker wish you the best of luck every now and then. It is my distinct pleasure and my honor to bring you the Coach of the Year. Lee County 1-19 the 2 years before his arrival. The State Coach of the Year in 6A, Coach Dean Fabrizio. Coach Fabrizio.
On behalf of Lee County High School and the Lee County school system, we'd like to thank the Speaker Ralston and Chairman Reinders for having us here today. You know, we've been very fortunate and blessed since we won the state title back in December to be honored by many people at many places, but this is without a doubt the biggest honor to be honored here at our Capitol today, and I'm humbled to stand before you. With us, we have our principal, Dr. Karen Hancock, our 9th grade center principal, Ginger Lawrence, our superintendent, Dr. Jason Miller, our player representative, Griffin McDowell, who'll be continuing at the University of Florida next year playing, and our football team, our juniors and seniors up there in the gallery. Please stand up. We'd again like to tell you how humbled we are and thank you for this honor. As a show of our appreciation, We have a championship hat that we'd like to present to the speaker at this time.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Kurt.
Appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 1093.
House Resolution 1093 by Representative Schofield of the 60th, Gordon of the 163rd, Bazemore of the 63rd, Clark of the 147th, and Beasley Teague of the 65th, a resolution recognizing and commending Dr. John Crawford Lipman on his exemplary service and achievements as a physician and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Representative Frazier for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And yes, I am not Representative Kim Schofield. I'm very, very proud of her. She's being sworn in right now at on the commission for the Atlanta Women's Commission. But we're very honored today to have with us Dr. John Crawford Littman, and he is accompanied by his beautiful wife, Jane Littman. If you all would just give her a round of applause. Dr. Littman is a special doctor, and he is a friend to every woman legislator in this room. Some of us have gone to see him, and many of us do not ever want to be able to come to his office because of his specialty. But Dr. Littman has earned a bachelor's degree in general science from the University of Rochester, New York, a master's in physiology from Georgetown, and he has a experienced by women between the ages of 35 and 50, and particularly for African American women. I would like to present to you Dr. John Crawford Littman.
Thank you very much. It's truly an honor and a privilege to be here this morning. I'd like to thank former State Representative Keisha Waits and current State Representative Kim Schofield, who couldn't be with us. In honor of Women's History Month, allow me to quickly share some women's history. Today and every working day in this country, over 3,000 women undergo surgical hysterectomy. The Greeks were the first to use the word hystra. It's a term that blamed the uterus for just about every psychological illness. Religion hopped on this bandwagon in the 17th century, saying the uterus was the root of everything sinful, sexual, and emotional. That's where the word hysteria actually comes from. It became an actual medical diagnosis, which interestingly was only found in women. And it was used for a wide variety of symptoms, including nervousness, sexual desire, insomnia, irritability, and for social transgressions like infidelity or being too bold or a tendency to cause trouble. Treatment for hysteria was often to banish these women to an asylum. But in the 19th century, physicians provided their own spin on this, claiming hysterectomy would cure these women. The surgeons who performed these hysterectomies stated that the operation would make these women, quote, more tractable, more orderly, industrious, and cleanly, end quote. Today in the 21st century, hysterectomy is the second most common surgery done in the United States. That's staggering to me because half the population, men, aren't even eligible. The most common reason why we do hysterectomy is not cancer, which would be appropriate. It's for these benign tumors called uterine fibroids. Hysterectomy for fibroids has been advocated as an attractive option, and the uterus as a disposable organ that serves no useful purpose once a woman has all the children she wants. Let me tell you, that is completely false. The uterus has significant functions to women besides just bearing children. Hysterectomy affects women psychologically, like a man being castrated. It can certainly affect them sexually. It causes bone loss, and now we know it increases cardiovascular risk, hypertension, and stroke. Remember, the most common reason why we do these hysterectomies is for benign tumors. These tumors are present in 1 of every 3 women and up to 80% of African American adult women. The average age of hysterectomy is less than 40 years of age. And I have met numerous women across this country who have had a hysterectomy before their 30th birthday. Now, mind you, these women didn't want the hysterectomy, but it was the only option given to them by their doctor. Given the centuries of misinformation about female anatomy, it's not surprising that these opinions still exist today. And as this harmful cycle continues, many women are left uninformed and without any other option besides surgery. In fact, there are over 1 million women in this country that are currently suffering with this condition. We're here to talk about uterine fibroid embolization. It's a revolutionary procedure that I've been performing here over 20 years, but yet nobody knows about it. It takes less than an hour to perform. It's a brief recovery. Patients discharged home with a Band-Aid the same day, a short recovery, and they're back to work within a week. The success rate is very high. They get to avoid all the risks and long recovery of surgery, and importantly, they get to keep their uterus. Former First Lady Sarah Elizabeth Reed and former patient supermodel Cynthia Bailey have joined us to ignite a social media campaign to try to bring awareness to UFE in this issue. I hope you will join me in trying to help us get the word out. It's hashtag Don't Lose Your U. Your U meaning your uterus, but also YOU, because it changes, and we don't want them to lose any of their U's. So please consider spreading this word. I appreciate your time, and thanks for your listening, and thanks.
We are going on to the rules calendar. Going on to the rules calendar. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 2.
Senate Bill 2 by Senator Dugan to the 30th, Schaefer to the 48th, Cowser to the 46th, Gooch to the 51st, Hill to the 32nd, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 60, Title 36, Chapter 1, and Title 43, and Title 50, the official code of Georgia annotated, relating to general provisions applicable to counties and municipal corporations, general provisions regarding professions and businesses, and state government. This bill having referred to the Committee on Small Business Development. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
The House author of the bill has deferred to the author of the Rules Committee substitute. The chair therefore recognizes Representative Fleming to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, you have on your desk a substitute to Senate Bill 2, which I'd like to explain to you. As my colleagues remember, last week we voted on Senate Bill 2. It was amended with an amendment that I offered along with several other members of the House. Then the House rejected the bill even after it had been amended. So what you have in front of you now is a substitute approved by the Rules Committee for Senate Bill 2, and I'd like to explain that to you now. What you have in front of you is an amendment signed by myself, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, and Mr. Trammell, the minority leader. This portion of Senate Bill 2 was in the original bill that came over from the Senate last year. It was, I believe, possibly inadvertently taken out in committee. The Department of Community Affairs was very concerned about the original bill. They asked that they would be taken out completely out of the bill. That was done, but I believe this portion could have been left in, and let me explain to you why. The purpose of Senate Bill 2, in great extent, was to speed up the permit process at the local governments for people getting building permits and the like. This portion of Senate Bill 2, which you have in front of you now as a substitute, was designed to set up a best practices program. It allows the Department of Community Affairs to form a working group appointed by the Speaker, the Lieutenant Governor, and the Governor. And that working group will come up with best practices so that it can be passed down to the local level and ask local governments to adopt these. And if they do and they implement them successfully, they can become a certified local government as it applies to the best practices for permitting processes. As I mentioned to you, it was originally part of Senate Bill 2. It is in front of you now, which I think is a workable program which uses a carrot approach to try to get this accomplished. If a few years down the road you and I have most of our local entities certified and doing the right thing, and we have some that are not, in other words, maybe we separate the sheep from the goats, then we can come back down and try to deal with those which are not doing what they should do. So I would highly recommend it to you as a workable version of Senate Bill 2. Mr. Speaker, I would be happy to try to answer any questions from any of my colleagues.
Chair recognizes Representative Pizzold to your right for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Absolutely.
Is it not true that I'm in full support of the changes that you have made, and I appreciate all your work on this?
Not only is that true, Mr. Pizzo, but I appreciate your working with me in the discussions that we've had about this. Thank you very much.
Glad. Thank you.
No further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll yield the well and ask for your favorable passage of Senate Bill 2 as substitute by the Rules Committee.
Chair recognizes Chairman Earhart to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the House. I just wanted to bring a little bit of perspective to this as well. I voted for Senate Bill 2, and I actually voted against my good friend Representative Fleming's amendment. Having spent a career on the other side of this permitting process, it is difficult. The 180 different policies, procedures, it cost jobs, it cost money, it cost, just to put it this way, there's an amazing cost to this inconsistency across the state. I've worked with Representative Fleming and with the Senate sponsor to put this back in. This is important. This will hopefully get us some reasonableness. So what I'm asking you to do today, so we can continue the conversation, is to support Representative Fleming's amendment and then support the bill as it goes back to the Senate so we can continue the conversation. It's too important to let die in this House. Mr. Speaker, I yield the will.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on Senate Bill 2? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. An amendment or a substitute has been offered by the Rules Committee. The clerk will read the caption to the Rules Committee substitute.
Representative Fleming of the 121st and Willard of the 51st offer the following substitute to SB 2. That is LC 215981 ERS. It is printed, distributed, and is on your desks.
Is there any objection to withdrawing the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is withdrawn. Is there any objection to adopting the substitute approved by the Committee on Rules? The chair hears none. The substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 2 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of Senate Bill 2, the ayes are 160, the nays are 5. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions.
Recognizing and commending Sabrina Willis. Recognizing and commending the members of the St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee, Chairman Brian Conahan, the Grand Marshal Michael Kenny on their roles in the 2018 St. Patrick's Day Parade in Savannah, Georgia. Recognizing and commending Taylor C. Duncan. Recognizing and commending Veronica Cope for receiving the 2018 Nikki T. Randall Servant Leader Award. Recognizing and commending Ruth Ann McGee. Recognizing and commending the contributions of the immigrants who own businesses in Georgia. Recognizing and commending Lori Kirby for her outstanding service to the Jefferson Park Neighbors Association in East Point, Georgia. Recognizing and commending Mr. Frank S. Alexander, Esquire, co-founder of the Center for Community Progress, for his lifetime of accomplishments and community services. Recognizing and commending Georgia Family Caregivers for individuals with disabilities. Congratulating Jared and Hannah Kay, and welcoming Caleb Asher Kay. And for other purposes, that completes the reading of the privilege resolutions.
Is there any objection to adopting the privilege resolutions? The chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. If you have signed up for an announcement, make your way to the front of the chamber.
House will have page photographs down at the front. If you have a page, make your way to the front. The chair recognizes Chairman Hatchett for an announcement.
Thank you, Madam Pro Tem. Colleagues, the House Majority Caucus will be meeting tomorrow at noon for lunch and a meeting. Thank you. In room 403.
Chair recognizes the Majority Leader for an announcement.
Just a reminder, y'all, per our schedule, don't forget, Tuesday and Thursday are committee days. They're work days for us. So even though we'll be in session Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of this week, Tuesday and Thursday are committee days. So let's get some work done and stay true to the task, and look forward to getting a lot of work done those 2 days as well as qualifying. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Maxwell for an announcement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Regulated Industries will meet tomorrow. And for those that got the note, please disregard Senate Bill 2. I lost my mind this morning. The Secretary texted me twice, and I said, yeah, and I don't know what I was thinking. It's Senate Bill 17 and Senate Bill 425. So do not have anybody coming to the meeting dealing with Senate Bill 2. We're meeting tomorrow at 2 o'clock in room 506. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Bennett for an announcement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The DeKalb House delegation will meet immediately upon adjournment in room 403. 403, DeKalb House delegation. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Gilligan for an announcement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies, tomorrow, though it is a committee day, we will be having the Women's Legislative Caucus. We'll be in room 514 at noon. So I hope you can join us tomorrow, 514 at noon. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Beasley Teague for an announcement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, tomorrow is the 6th, and keeping in mind this is Women's History Month, tomorrow we'll have a luncheon at Pitty Pat Porch, and we're going to honor a few of our colleagues and friends. We'd love to see you there tomorrow. Be blessed. Oh, at 12:15, we're going to catch a bus.
The House Majority Leader is recognized for a motion.
Madam Speaker, I move that this House stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Wednesday, March the 7th, 2018.
On the motion of the Majority Leader that this House stands adjourned until 10 a.m. Wednesday, March 7th. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed will say no. Well, the ayes clearly have it, and this House stands adjourned.